thumping it, right? Or there might be more activity on those issues. And I think it's more appropriate to help the people that are engaged right now, because we'll continue to get traction with those people. And it's kind of our fault that we didn't do that from the beginning. So I know that it sucks, because it maybe should be a first in, first out queue. Wait, no, yeah, no?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Whatever. That's where I sit, though. That's my opinion of it.
And that's valid.
Hey.
So, well, shall we start? So, all right. I'll share the list here. All right. If I can find screen share. Here we go. All right. So then, our first issue up for today is number 1489. There's a link in general in Habislack, so you can have the same queue up locally if you'd like. And so 1489, buying data not available in run or init hooks.
I wrote that ticket.
Yeah, you did.
And I think Jamie put an awesome comment on it that I put a heart on.
Yeah, I addressed this ticket. We have half of it solved, and we will have the other half solved at some point. We gotta, Tasha and I have to sit down and see where it fits into the schedule, but I hope that we do this sooner than later. It's definitely something that we need to finish out. The portion of this that half addresses it is the package exports feature that was merged into master sometime last week. And the front side of this is, so that's the producer creating something, and then the consumer needs to say that they require or optionally can consume a bind. And during that time, we're able then say, we wait until the thing that we require is ready for us.
One thing I wondered about, and we don't need to get into it too much, but just to put it out there, like, is the distinction between a service being alive and being healthy, right?
No, that's another thing that we have to chat about. Currently, alive, we play nothing into health check, and we need to see if we want the health. I'm pretty sure we want the health check to be something you can filter on. I don't know if they are the exact same thing. Like alive and healthy might be what you say, and not just alive, right?
Right. Yeah. Just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that one we've marked accepted minor because we're working on it, and we did some work on it. We got some other work planned. And next one up, number 1607, document that had command can be installed with Homebrew on OS X.
Yeah, that one's interesting. What do the rest of you all think about that?
So I kind of don't think that it should be an officially supported install method unless we officially like automate the fact that the latest build is always there.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, if we want to make this part of our release process, then we can do it. If not, then we can't have this information.
on mute while I'm banging on the keyboard.
So there'll come a day where we have actual proper habitat packages that can come from the depot. When that happens, this is going to be an awkward situation, possibly. I also know that, like, unless something's changed, Cask is it's a little tricky for Cask to know if they need an update or not. And I might be completely out of date on that, but because the Cask is like the binary one, so like the same way you'd get Firefox versus the more the source-based whatever they call those pre-baked things. This is more like third-party binaries, kind of part of the homebrew system. So.
All right.
That's correct. If you're saying something, Ian, I guess no.
Okay. So next issue, 1680. Bin links to bin in the studio, but only have bins available in Path. Yeah, this has bit me a couple times, but I also understand why it's a little different. The studio is a little different scenario.
Right. I don't know if it's enough to document that there is a flag. You can set the instead of /bin being your destination, there's like a -D that you can override that. It's possible we could put /bin on Path now. Initially, I was super concerned about what software might be in there and what might break the like auto tools and the builds. So that's why it's explicitly not in there right now. But that's not to say that maybe it's okay now.
Okay. Well, Fletcher, would you mind dropping a comment on the issue to the effect of not wanting to put something in bin and offering the -D?
Yeah. Okay.
And then closing it.
I think we should have this do what I mean. So like in the studio, we should auto set that flag for them if we don't want something in bin. Like it just feels a little wrong.
Yeah.
If it's possible, right? Like if there's some limitation, then that's a thing, right?
Yeah, I guess we need to add some like logic to figure out what the default would be.
Well, like is there an environment variable or something we can check out to see what we're in the studio?
I don't think so. I might be wrong, but I don't think we have anything explicit.
Yeah.
That no one's asked for that yet, unless they have.
Well, maybe that's something to do. All right. So
get your Tmux power line to let you know you're in a Habitat studio.
So all right. So is this something we should do? Something, or is this something we plan to do, or something that we want somebody to do? Good idea. And who wants to sum up what we should do?
I think you should take this, Fletcher.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick look in the studio to see.
Whatever you decide is the right thing, but I think we should try at all times to provide the do what I mean behavior.
Okay. And then if you end up closing it out, close it out. If you end up PRing it, awesome.
Okay, I signed it to myself, so that should hopefully keep it on me.
Cool. All right. Next up is 1681. Failure when trying to install the same thing multiple times.
Oh, that's fine too.
Yeah. All right. If many processes are trying to install one package all at once, things can happen.
Yeah, so the way we ran into this is we have a bunch of systemd, a bunch of services that run habitat supervisors and systemd, and they're all like linked together. So when you run systemd start this thing, it starts all of them, and then like the first time you do that, they like don't ship with the supervisor. So it tries to install the supervisor. So they're all trying to install the supervisor at once, and then this happens. So you can recreate that by just like trying. I have the like RM hab packages core hab soup just to like make sure it does the actual downloading. If you run that command, everything's trying to install at once, and like that there's some like, I guess that's why like dpackage has like a lock thing on it, or you know.
I can confirm. I've seen this too. I think we saw this at our previous 2 engagements as well. And if I remember, I think our code when we download a package from the depot is we don't set a temporary file name. We do set like a temporary file, but it's like literally like .temp on the end of it, which means both of those hab processes race for the same file, and that's when things get super effing weird. I think an easy fix that might kind of fix it is to randomize that per process. It still means like they're potentially both downloading. We can make deeper fixes, but my hope is kind of where we're taking the supervisor might, it might come up less often if you tend to run one supervisor rather than multiple.
So what about the lock file idea?
I would like to avoid that as much as possible until we have no other choice.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 rules that you follow always when you're downloading files from a tool like this, especially if there'll be multi-threads. One of those is that you always write in the directory directly against where you intend the file to go, and you name it something that's a temporary file name, and you should randomize that and make it randomly deterministic. Currently, it's not randomly deterministic. It's completely deterministic. So just putting something like the PID of the process that owns it is just fine.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why we didn't do that. I think I saw that in our code base, and we do that in many other places. Just for some reason, we didn't do it there.
Yeah, literally, that's a rule, but like it's easy to forget it when you're writing a lot of code, right? Or maybe you don't know the rule and you haven't been bitten by it yet.
So yeah, this will affect hab and the supervisor, because you could do like hab package install in 2 windows or 2 threads, or like you can get the same race in both places. And that's not necessarily a hard fix. That's something we could do if somebody else wants to help, though. Like that could be a that's a guidable thing if somebody wants to take a swing at it.
All right.
But I would mark that as a bug, because that's super not the right behavior.
Yeah, it wasn't marked as a bug.
Feels like it is, only because like I've hit it too, and it's been super annoying.
I marked it as. I must have just forgot to mark it as a bug when I opened it.
Okay.
in through bug on there.
It's a bug because we don't have a global lock on running other supervisors.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So next up we have 1678. Make hab package build -r the default.
Yes, this is Martin, I think, who I met last week in Amsterdam. I can follow up on this. I think I have him convinced that that might not necessarily be the default we want. Trying to explain the difference between what hab package build was kind of intended to do, being like a clean from zero thing that you would run in CI, versus something you would want to like interactively do because you're just re-downloading stuff all the time. But I could answer that just to make sure that we were on the same page, because maybe that's not the case.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So we got.
So the R, for anybody who hasn't seen it, is for reuse. So that hab package build will it'll delete, it'll call Studio RM before to make sure that nothing pre-exists, and then starts to build from there. That -r is for those few times where you need to do like you need to build many packages inside that one studio. Like we have that need right now before kind of the rest of the builder stuff is going. So it's a little bit of a cheat flag. We've needed it though.
Oh, wrong window. All right. Okay, so you're gonna follow up and respond on that one.
Yeah.
And 1679, bin link option to have install. And we just talked about this. This was actually 1680 as well. So 1680 is actually a duplicate. It was filed immediately after this one.
Oh, no kidding. Well, I think it's a slightly different one. I think the intention was from this, like, if I install the core/curl, like, it'd be great if I could just add a flag on my hab package install, and then bin links would get made.
Yes.
I guess it would be like, for what binary, or for all of them in the path entries? That was, I think, Adam's question.
I think this is a neat feature and definitely something we should do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you could do like hab package install core curl -- bin link, or -- bin link curl, or and maybe for like the UX, like if you think about how like in Bundler, they can do like bundle bin stubs and it'll install all of them, or like bundle bin stub rake or whatever, a single command. Maybe you could like
It supports single as well in Bundler?
yeah, so you can like bin stub a single thing or all of them. So maybe if you just like maybe if you did like -- bin link, it would do all of them, or -- bin link one thing or a list of things, it would just do those. Maybe seems like it would be helpful.
All right. We good on that one? Did I lose audio?
I think we're good on that one.
Okay. All right. So then the next one up, 1676. Writing to proc self FD1 and proc self FD2 when a supervised process fails.
Yeah, this was also Martin. This was a problem he was having with PHP FPM, I think, and trying to get the log output in the foreground so that Habitat would kind of emit that. I guess it doesn't do that by default. And so I think he thought this might be a good trick, is to like just use the proc system to get at that.
Could that be because you're running as the hab user?
That might possibly be why, because I don't know what we would be doing that would be bizarre enough to like make that not work, but there could be an effective user problem, maybe.
Because I ran into a thing, I think it was with like Nginx, and I was trying to like make it log something else to standard out, and like I got permission denied errors because I was running as hab and not root. I needed root to write to like dev standard out, so maybe this could be a similar thing. I haven't looked at it, but I read this ticket and I thought maybe it was because it was the hab user. So I don't know.
That makes sense in my mind. I tell you, I learned a lot about the proc file system in the last couple of weeks. I hadn't really thought about it too much. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, I guess one of these steps is probably just to try and follow the repro and confirm.
Okay. Is this something we should pick up as work that we're going to be doing? Is this something that for the time being we'd love some help on?
That's a good question.
I mean, if this isn't like, is this kind of a customer blocking issue, or is this something that it would be nice to have later?
I'm hoping it's a nice to have later. It right now, I guess, was like the strategy to get around this one particular problem. Yeah, I guess it's hard to say, but I do know for Martin, at least in his case, we do have him kind of more in the loop with conversations kind of going forward. So this is something we could bring back to see. He may have solved around this since last week. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the bucket we put it in isn't a, end state forever. We can always revisit these things. Just, classifying them so we know we have buckets of things to look at.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have 1565. Add PS plan and make it available within Studio.
Isn't there packages core
PS utils or something?
Something. There is proc ps-ng.
Huh.
There's a proc ps-ng package in core that has proc or ps in it.
And would PS Mystic have that? I'm asking you because it looks like you built it.
Guess what?
PS Mystic.
PS Mystic.
I'm not sure if that's like processes, but it looks like I see Nathan built this one, I think. Or at least you touched it last, so.
How do you spell it?
It's a PS and then MISC.
Oh.
I honestly don't remember what this does, but.
And it might be, I think there might be a BusyBox version too.
Well, that's what I thought, yeah. Oh, this gives you PS tree, kill all.
Oh.
This might not actually contain the PS.
Yeah, we don't actually have to solve it, but are these things that we want to do?
Well, I think what we should say is that I don't think that should be like he wants NetStat and curl in the studio. I want NetHack in the studio.
I think the only way to solve
there are packages available that you can install, so I think we should make it clear on how to get at the commands you need while you're there. Because you're in the studio, you have Habitat, you can install whatever the hell you want, but we ship the studio as a minimal environment, so we should just probably better document how to install stuff while you're there that you need.
I think the best way to handle this is, one, make package provides talk to a remote endpoint and index all the binaries that we have uploaded, so they don't need to be on your machine to know where you can get PS from. And the second half of it is to make this configurable with a user config on your host machine, that when you enter a studio, it just goes and gets the things that you constantly ask for.
So I think we already have that hook, if I'm not mistaken,
cool.
Right? Like a .studio file or something. I think there's something you could hijack right there.
That's great then.
My only note of caution for adding stuff to the studio is we definitely can, but any of those packages that get added become part of our critical bootstrapping tool chain. One or two more packages isn't necessarily bad, but there's a good reason why Emacs isn't in there.
Yeah. So for this particular issue, there's also the option of creating your own custom studio and pointing to that with an environment variable. So there's a couple of ways around this, or ways to kind of customize your studio environment. Do a volunteer to kind of write up some of those options in here and close it out.
I can do it, Stephen.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Then moving right along. Number 1677. Improve error message during generalization or during generation of configuration.
So that's when you have a syntax error in your
In
template.
something that's templated over, I think, right?
Yeah, if you go to a config file and the config file has an error.
So this was something that sort of came up the last couple of weeks. The fact that these things don't really kick you in the face until it's a runtime problem, which is really unfortunate because we do a good job of pushing that risk more into build time. So this might be a place where we might want to start thinking about, is there some kind of like a verification thing that we can do sort of at the end as the files are coming out, or a way to lint through? Like, it'd be great if we could sort of catch more of these at build time.
Is there a mustache linting tool out there?
Well, there might be, but we already have like the the handlebars, the implementation that the supervisor even uses. We sort of have it at hand in Rust code. It's just a matter of, I guess, workflow and what a tool like that might look like. And honestly, it might just be something, another hab subcommand in the right place that gets triggered by build at the end, that's smart enough to go and look at all of those conventional things, do a pass over it, and if there's templating errors, die, something like that.
Yeah, even just see if we can render anything in the config directory, to make sure it all can render out with, with dummy data in our various, or pulling from the config file, or from the config defaults and stuff like that. Just render. That can actually render the file, and if you need to have some data injected, that's not just there by default.
Yeah, that's where I get interesting, like bind stuff.
But that should all be in your default, right? In your default .toml.
Unless it's information you get from another bind.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah,
I really empathize with this, and I would love us to be able to eventually make this problem a little bit easier for people.
I don't even think you need to go that far. If you can just like attempt to like render the templates, like they'll blow up on a unmatched brace before they try to stick data in there, I bet.
Typically, it's pretty early in the supervisor's life. But yeah. Oh, although the other problem, we got to maybe double check this. The other problem is maybe our error message actually regressed a bit. Because I seem to recall some nice, like the supervisor would give a nice, like, it's this line number with some like ASCII stuff.
That's in there. It's just not clean.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's reverted more back to like we're just taking a Rust result backup. So maybe it's not displaying nearly as nice as it could from the supervisor. That we could definitely confirm and fix up.
Okay. So again, it's something we need to get on our backlog. Something that'd be nice to get on our backlog.
Sounds like a nice to have.
Yep. And this could be a supervisor or possibly.
Yeah, it's at least, yeah. I think we're probably missing some labels. I'm always like reaching for things we don't quite have.
Yeah, we need to add one for like the hab CLI and all that. But
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there at the moment. All right. Next up, 1641. Service should be set to uninitialized after an update occurs.
Adam and I chatted about this. I think that we should close this, and there's other hooks that need to be created, and we need to communicate that init literally means run once ever. Like, that'll never be rerun again, so it's not part of an upgrade. So if you upgrade and you put something in your init hook, it'll literally never run if your service gets updated.
Okay.
So init runs every time now, or
Once, when the service starts for the first time ever. So this is why I opened it.
Yeah.
It runs one time when the service starts, but then when you upgrade the service, the new init hook never gets run. So basically, you cannot put anything specific to the version of the software inside of init. Actually, like, still think this is required. Right? And I don't agree. I completely disagree. I think that the hooks need to be idempotent, and if you put something in a hook, like that part, like literally init hooks will be useless, and I'll never tell anyone to use them.
Well, or we'd be shifting it. Like you need a hook for like on upgrade or something, but you would need to run on upgrade when you boot the thing. Like if you get a sense that like it's
Right, but like,
run it, which feels a bit like an init. So.
I would tell people to never write an init hook. They're dangerous. They are. Like, you don't know if it's going to get run when the software gets updated. I'll talk to Adam again about it.
how? Just curious, how does it know that it has already run the init hook before?
The state of the supervisor holds to know if it has initialized the service or not, which means that as soon as the process dies, it forgets that the init hook was ever run. So either it has to become literally run once forever, or it has to be part of the life cycle of the application.
Okay, so if you like kill the supervisor and start it again, it'll run the init hook again.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. So, Jamie, you're gonna close and follow up on this one then?
Yeah, I'll make sure I talk to Adam about it today.
Okay. Sweet. All right. Then we have 1339. Result stir should be owned by a regular user instead of root.
Yeah, that was hitting me all last week. It's annoying.
Yep. So,
Sorry, I'm trying to bring it up.
help wanted, we need to do this.
Yeah, it's going to end up being one of those weird things that, like, because we sort of mask the fact that sudo was required, and now we have special knowledge of that, and it's the root user that's writing that stuff back, we need to do another weird sudo inspection to figure out who should own that thing, but the program may have already completed. Yeah, there is probably a fix there. It is annoying. And you see it when you run like Linux as your workstation, or that's your development environment.
Yep.
That's where you see it. So
Yeah, because if you're in the container, it's mapping that stuff all back, and your permissions are different.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, then we've got number 886, lint angular code with Codalizer.
We should totally lend the Angular code with Codalizer. I don't know if anybody's going to do it. Like this
Sounds good to me.
is like as we were like releasing, Angular was going from like beta to release candidate, and they came out with like, hey, we have like documentation now, and hey, there's a style guide now, and look at all this cool new stuff that's out now. And so instead of like, and like, so we were kind of finishing up building the stuff, but like I made tickets for like getting the stuff to work with the new stuff. So I don't know. It's probably obviously not a priority, or it'd be done already. So I mean, you could You close it.
I wouldn't close it. We need to do this when we revisit work on the UI portion of things. We haven't really touched the web UI in a little while, but this is part of the rules of contributing and working with Habitat, which is that we need to make sure that we have a lint checker and auto formatter for all of our stuff, so that way an opinion doesn't form.
That's right.
Yeah, because we're going to have to revisit the web UI as the builder stuff gets added now, and also as we add multi-platform. So, yeah, this will become more important very shortly. All right. Number 1131. Habitat does not honor Hab Studio's home environmental variable.
Oh, that's weird. Without Studio. Yeah, it's Studio right now is completely ignoring that behavior, I would imagine, with sudo. Right now it's unconditionally setting the default to be in like root space, like hab/studio/ some directory name. And I didn't even attempt to like move that if you were a non-root user, because that directory ends up being owned by root. You need root permissions anyways. So let's see. I'm just going to finish reading it now.
And this is important to this user because they want to split off build and their source on from different disks so that they, for performance reasons.
I'm not sure after a build manually what that means, but
if you set this thing beforehand, after a build, you'll only see a couple of folders in that location, and the rest of the whole studio environment hasn't been moved to that location. Only some of it.
I see. That's probably true. So yeah, it's a bit more. You could think of those studio commands that are a bit more chef-like they're convergent. So it's whatever state when you say like you want to enter it, it's gonna take all those like defaults and paths and mount the directories all over and make sure that it's like the state that it should have been. If you're in the same directory and you change like an environment variable to say now my home is over there, it's just gonna happily like remake that desired state over there kind of thing. So it at that point it had no idea that there was already something there before because you just said now do it over here. So it's definitely a good idea to keep those environment variables around, before you create the thing and while you have the thing and then as you're removing the thing. This we could probably take a look at. So if for some reason you set Hab Studio's home and you really want it somewhere arbitrary, and if Hab Studio enter Hab package build, if it doesn't honor that environment variable for some weird reason, that we should make sure that works because the user should be able to set that. That's something that Studio consumes, and I thought we set up our sudo little command properly to like inherit the user's environment across that like sudo bridge, but that is something we could check on. This is potentially a bug.
Okay. And the perennial question, something we have to do, something we want to do?
It's something we probably should make sure that it works right. In terms of like changing that behavior to like as a non-root user, I expect this directory to be here. I don't know. I for myself, I'd just rather be in the one place for right now, but that's more a bit of a design edge case, I think. If you set an environment variable and you say, I know best, it goes here, you should be able to place it there.
Okay. And now we are on to 1229. More information when reporting file and IO errors.
Right, I remember this one. I agree.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Constant cleanup. This exists because of the way that we originally wrote the program. The scope it started from as a prototype, and our knowledge of Rust, and it's getting better. But yeah,
I would say our code base and our errors are getting better, but because this isn't really, I can't really find an actionable thing in here.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a like when I do this, I get that. That we could make go away. I completely agree with Steven on this. But I don't know, like we could keep this open for the next year and it will become more true. This is definitely something we aspire to. And if people are seeing like when I do this, I get, you know, an OS error, we could definitely like clean those up as we need to. I guess I'm advocating we can probably close it knowing that like, yeah, we do want to get rid of these. If you see any though, in the future, submit an issue or PR and we'll definitely get it cleaned up. The problem is we can't like search our code base for what like IO errors might happen in an easy way because they just literally come up almost anywhere.
how you fix this is you remove the from trait on IO error in all of our crates, and then you go after them one at a time.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
Who wants to see it?
Let the compiler do it.
Yeah, compiler will do it for you.
Yeah, I mean, what I kind of have liked to see is I don't mind this error, but I kind of want it in parentheses after we've explained to the user what the hell happened. And if they want to know that, like, you know, you tried to install a package that doesn't exist on disk kind of thing. And then in brackets, you could put this, like that's a little bit more useful, but yeah, just showing this back to users is a little unfortunate.
Okay. There we go. All right. And moving right along. 963, online help for build command.
That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways you could solve that though, aside from an inline command.
You know, I can't even remember if the build program has like help usage. It might, but it's going to be super minimal, I think.
Right. Well, I think what he's asking for is like adding a flag that would give you the documentation so that you can see what all of the callbacks are, what all of the built-ins are, and all that shit. Which we've got the. I haven't like merged the VS Code thing, but we've got the Atom plugin. We can get the VS Code one. There's an Emacs one, and then I could probably pretty easily write a Vim one that would expose all that information, cover all those main editors, so that
That's cool.
we don't need to.
And it's actually really easy to generate from our existing documentation for PowerShell as an about topic. Yeah.
Good old PowerShell.
Yeah, that's right.
I suppose even if the output of a command like that, if it's like to see full help, please go to, and then there's the URL to our docs site, like that at least would be marginally useful, I think.
Yeah, he was
Maybe,
specifically asking for things that were not, like the web, so he didn't have to flip back between the web browser to shell. But yeah.
One thing that's not documented very well and is kind of hard to discover, and might go along with this, is like, what is the default implementation of do build?
The Atom plugin exposes all of that actually. And I think that JJ's Emacs plugin does too, but Emacs sucks. So
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm just
That's
trying.
an interesting line to fall on. It was
Yeah.
unexpected. Like Atom versus Emacs. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so that we exposed it into the Atom plugin, but I've been using Vim and been feeling like I really need to port that behavior over to Vim as well.
All right. Next issue, 1160. Package search only matches in the beginnings of names.
Oh yeah. Somebody figured it out. Like
This
Ryan.
is still a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing's changed here.
What if we moved everything to use a database that supported full text search?
We could probably stamp and approve on that. Pending time.
We are moving to a database that ports full text search.
Well, sweet.
This is eventually going to be resolved.
Yeah, we're switching from Postgres to Redis to Postgres right now.
Yeah, I knew that. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
One day this will be a hilarious story to show people how we're doing search.
Oh man,
when we're on the other side of it.
We are doing a very performance enhanced search. It's very fast.
It's very fast. It's the best.
I walked through that with Dave Parfit like before he left, and he showed me that very performance search.
All right. So next up, we need a clean way to reset ownership on service folders. 1547. Yeah. I'm
pretty sure this is a bug and must be fixed. We need to fix this for real.
Well, so what happens every time the service reconfigures or reconfigures or starts, or that supervisor, every time the service starts or the supervisor reconfigures it, it reackles everything, and that becomes painful.
Is that
It's like almost a chef client problem. I think the supervisor's probably setting not the right settings, and so plan authors are trying to get around it in hooks. So there's this stupid race that always is like churning through, which to me is a sign that we did not get something right.
The plan author loses, by the way.
Yeah, they always lose. We talked about this at Schubert Phyllis, and you and I did, Fletcher, if you recall.
Yep.
And I think what we landed on was there's two options. One of them's probably better than the other. One is that we need, this is the lesser because it requires you to do something. We need a way to say that the supervisor, the process runs as root, but we know that whenever it runs as root will then de-escalate its privileges. The other thing that we could do is just make the permissions more open on the group level, so both root and the group can do everything to it, so it doesn't matter if you de-escalate because you have group permissions instead of single user permissions.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to think that's more appropriate, but I'm a software engineer and not a sysadmin that's a file system pedant, right? I don't know if that will freak people out.
So I think, Nathan, your comment on here is totally right at the bottom, that like the var directory under service is set for like 700 owned by root, which means if the hab user is an unprivileged user running it, they literally can't see past that directory, which is ridiculous if that's the state, if they want to put state under that. So
yeah, well, we like the static path. We were putting our Nginx like HTML files in there, and then like
right, and they can't read it again.
we can't put them in there.
Yeah.
So I know Timberman made a plan on something internal he was working on where like he just makes a new directory at the top of Hab service thing, and like because nobody fucks with the permissions of that instead of using the ones we give you.
So all we need is the perfect indicator of when anybody does that. That should be a sign to us that we need to fix something. and now that I know what to look for, yeah, we're doing it in our own hooks sometimes too. And I think we figured out last week that even the way that Builder boots a couple of its components right now,
Builder API.
the permissions aren't even quite right. Yeah.
Yep.
So I would at least label this a bug. This is probably on us to fix it more in the short term than the long term. I mean, it's all a matter of prioritizing, but This one is starting to really annoy me.
Yeah.
And it's this goes back. I traced this code back. These permissions and ownerships go like right back to some of the original prototype stuff. So we really haven't totally rethought it, anyways.
Cool. All right, we need to fix that. So let's move on to our next issue, which is proposal pass number 1632. Proposal pass configs to director services in the same layer toml. Director's going away, so we can probably close this.
Has gone away.
Yeah, not going. It's gone.
Yeah, that's probably not a great. Okay. And we've got 5 minutes left. Let's do one more, and that's number 1610. How can configuration files be written to arbitrary locations in the tree?
Hey, actually, Stephen.
Yeah.
Since we've got Andrew here and he has an open work in progress PR, can we all as a team take a look at that instead of looking at the next issue?
Yeah, of course.
Oh gosh, it's totally not ready.
Well, yeah, but this way we can talk about it. We don't need to like parse your code, but if there's feedback that people can give while we're all here and you're here, it probably is best, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So we've got PR number 1495, and it's to enable package source to point to arbitrary folder relative to the line sh.
So this is intended to enable, like I have an application that's in my GitHub or my Git repository, and I want to make a plan.sh in the same folder and be able to do Hab Studio enter and build it and see what I get out without having to upload it to a server or run a local server or anything like that, and not need to do a hack around do download or do verify.
Yeah, we need this.
Yeah.
We were chatting last week about having package source be able to be customizable to configure to get locations, file paths, things like that, because there's more places that download code than just a tarball somewhere. I think this is a great idea.
So one of my intentions at first was I thought about changing wget to use rsync, but then I realized that that would probably be a problem for the Windows stuff. So what I did instead was I did some intelligence around looking at the path provided, and then if it saw a local path that didn't look like a URL, it would not call wget, and it would just copy over the file. And if it was a directory, it would just assume that it was valid and verified, but if it was a tarball, it would look for the SHA-SUM.
You've totally implemented what I had to do quickly last week. Just in a prototype branch. Yeah. This is getting pretty close. You've probably done a better job, I suspect.
So one of the things that I'm kind of hung up on is how to properly test this. Should I just build out some example test cases and post them as part of the PR? Or is there a place for like where we have a bunch of example plans and the CI or something just goes and tries to build all of them all, and if any of them fail, it reports an error? Or
Yeah, right now this is a part of the code base that could have much better testing.
Yeah.
So probably some like either reproducible ones or referencing some other plans that we could try to build, against that. That's kind of the state of the art where we're at right now. The only thing that makes me sleep at night is that build thing is so well exercised because literally everybody uses it.
Yeah, exactly.
If there are problems, we tend to know about it quicker, but that's something that like the work we're doing on the PowerShell side, that's probably already more testable code than like our build program is right now. With a little bit of work, it'd be nice to actually make that a little more testable, especially because some of those functions are pretty somewhat self-contained.
Yeah, so actually, that was another question I had was, is there the intention to keep the plan building as PowerShell and Bash, or is there eventually the intention to build that down to some sort of binary?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Is the intention to keep the build program as PowerShell and Bash, or is there an intention to eventually move that into binaries such as a Rust executable?
The intention right now is to leave it how it is until we see, until we discover that it's not the right shape. I have, since the beginning of the project, there's a running joke that I'm going to replace it at some point. There's not been enough reason for that to be a true thing, right? But there is this thing where code share, we're not getting it, right? Like Bash and PowerShell, we have literally two different implementations. So I think the first thing is that what you'll see first is that we take common code paths, move them into Rust, and then build PowerShell and Bash built-ins with them. And that's how we'll get the code share. If we continue down the path and we realize that people don't actually want to use PowerShell or Bash to make plans, we could then create another like DSL-like version implemented in something that's an embeddable language or has easy...
Starts with an L, right?
Starts with an L. The code that we would have moved into... Lust? Yeah. And the code that we had moved into Rust would be reusable from there. So I think that's the steps that we'll take.
So for this PR, I'm only doing the Linux side because I simply do not have a Windows box to work on, and I have absolutely zero experience using PowerShell.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We can help with that.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned to Steve about this, and he's like, yeah, it'll be.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, if we land this for the Linux side, the Windows stuff hasn't really shipped yet. So I mean the bits are there, but we're still making that a real story, and we'll catch it up.
Yeah, well, great. Hopefully I'll get some more time to work on this in the next couple of weeks. They're a little bit crazy. I know I was mentioning to Ian about it, so I'll do my best.
Nice. Yeah, if you need anything though, yeah, just reach out.
Yeah, glad to have you hacking on things, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to.
Cool. So we're a little bit over time, so we can go ahead and close it all down. And thanks everybody for joining. Got a ton of shit closed out today, or well, a ton of shit moved around and sorted the way it should be, and that's awesome. So thanks a lot.
Yep, we're down to